if you look
Absolutely.
at the games that were played yesterday, they were different. So
now, Norman Koshnink here for Eyes on Cricket. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to change hats. I'm going to put the MCC hat. I've got too many hats these days. We'll put that hat on. We're joined to start with by
that's a shocking hat.
Distinguished gentleman, David Graveney, MCC hat, yes. I'm very glad that David's here. David is just able to spend time with us on my platform. It's been fantastic. We'll be joined by other people. In fact, we've got Debasha Sen joining us as well. He's just entering the fray. If we can get him on. There we are. All right, there we are.
Hi, David.
Hi, Norman. How are you?
Fine, David.
This is getting a regular event, you and me.
Yeah. It's always great to have you on Norman's platform.
And David and I were talking off air, Debashis, about Anzac Day, which took place in Australia, and the memories of fallen soldiers and the incredible sight to see grandchildren and even in some cases great-grandchildren walking with their families' medals. Quite an special thing. We're also joined now by Keshav. Wait a minute. Stop. Keep him on there. Hang on a second.
Got a crowd.
Hang on, guys. I'm just trying to get in another person. That one. There we are. Hang on. Not easy to. The computer's a bit slow today. Bear with me. Oh boy. Super slow.
Oh, hi. He himself went out.
No, we lost Norman. We've lost Norman.
He will be joining us soon.
That's all right. Keshav, I don't think we've met before on this epic platform. But,
yes, sir. We have not. It's an honor.
Pleasure to meet you.
Same here. It's an honor to be sitting next to you on this stream.
The basis has now decided not to wear Chelsea hats as a matter of
yes. And Norman has been after my Chelsea hat.
Is there another? Have we got? Am I here? Can you see me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There, my computer's having its own little mic. You can all see me, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So we are joined by David Graveney, the former chairman of selectors of English cricket, now a raconteur. I think you're a male model as well, David. You're doing so many things. No.
They seem to have awarded me some new jobs, Norman. So
I will find plenty for you. We have
Sure.
Debasha Sen from Extra Time, and we have Keshu Baria. Now, he is I think he may be a male model. I'm not sure. He's not telling me everything. A musician, a cricket expert, amazing. David, you ought to hear Keshu's ability. He plays songs. He plays songs of great artists and puts his words to it. Absolutely magnificent. Keshu, do you realise that David Graveney was actually at the funeral service for Princess Diana and was sitting right next to Elton John? He played his version of Candle in the Wind back in those days. Amazing.
That's amazing,
Right.
Yes. And is it just me or Norman sounding of the voice is breaking?
The basis and I can hear each other loud and clear. I think
Yes.
it's just Norman. Norman and his technology. Can you hear me, Keshav?
Yeah, I can hear you and Debashish Dada both, but I think there's some sort of noise from Norman.
Well, there isn't any noise. Can't hear him at all.
So yeah, but Keshav, I've got internet problem. Just make it very clear. Can you, David and the Bastards, can you both hear me?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I can hear you, Norman, clearly.
So Kesha, can you hear me now?
I can hear as well, but there's a bit of cracking when you speak. And there's a comment, Hitesh also says that your voice is cracking.
That's okay. Just bear with us, Kesha, because we've had problems with the internet through the last session as well. So when I talk, you'll be able to hear me talk, but I may not always hear you talk. So you can talk to the group, and if I can't reply, it's based on me not ignoring you, but just not hearing you. So we'll get through it. All right. Today's match was an amazing match. Well, when I say amazing, frustrating match. The lack of batting application from both sides was evident. We're looking at two teams which I believe are, in fact, the bottom four teams, regardless of the result. There's a lot to be questioned about these two teams. There's the lack of selection in Milan, the position of Gale in the batting order, the position of a number of players. One redeeming factor was Owen Morgan batted quite well and may even see himself go up the order. But I was disappointed with the way the game went. Ahmedabad, the problems with Dew is enormous, and it's going to be a real factor in the toss selection in the future. But there's a lot to be said about this game. All right, we'll start with David. What's your thoughts on what you've seen today?
Dew is an issue, and you don't want the toss to be so decisive. But I agree with you. Some of the batting is, and it is very, very hard to play 2020 cricket continuously. And if you get in a slump of form, but we were talking on a previous program that Morgan hadn't got any runs, and every time I mention somebody hasn't got any runs, they get some runs the next day. So it shows. They can do it if they apply. Chris Gale is an interesting case to me, I must admit. And one thing that when people come to the end of their careers, and I hope I'm not sort of curtailing his career, but in any sport, you want the best players to still be playing the best way, and not to go into decline. And I'm not sure whether Chris Gale is coming to the end of the road. I hope not, because he's been a larger than life entertainer. But he's certainly, I'm not quite sure which way he's trying to play. When he was at his peak, he just kept smashing it out of the park all the time. I think he's trying to be a little bit overcautious, but only he knows that. But in the end, I think you're right. The standard of batting is they're finding it hard work. I'm not saying it's dull or anything like that. They're just finding it hard work, and the bowlers are on top. So, but Owen Morgan showed, his ability to finish off games, which is pleasing. Will be pleasing for him at least.
Can I ask everybody to put themselves on mute when they're not talking? Because I'm hearing background noise only when you're not talking. So, okay, David's points are very relevant. There's a lot of frustrations going, and the bowlers are simply bowling well enough, and the batters are not. It's the simple mathematics of those. That's the fact. Tabashis, what's your thoughts on today's match?
Yeah. Norman, it once again goes to establish the fact that when your captain fires, it automatically makes your team look good, and that is what the case with KKR today, with Owen Morgan coming back to form at least for the time being. Because at one point of time when KKR chased that target of 124, they lost 3 quick early wickets, but it was Morgan and Rahul Tripathi. And I must say that Morgan anchored the innings very well with Rahul Tripathi, and eventually they crossed the line. And there has been a lot of criticism about Morgan's batting of late in recent times, but he is too good a batsman, because we all know what a cricketer he is. He has been a role model. He has won. He has been a World Cup winning captain, and he has changed the total approach of English cricket in white ball format. So I think you should give credit where it is due. And in this case, Owen Morgan once again proved that what a great batsman and captain he is. And I think it might just be the start of a winning momentum for KKR. One would hope, because the bowling looked very well. all the bowlers clicking right from Pat Cummins, Sunil Narine, Prasidh Krishna, Shivam Mavi, every one of them chipping in with good crucial wickets. And if KKR can sort their batting order, I would say, because with the opening batsman, it was once again their opening batsman with the likes of Shubman Gill and Nitish Rana struggling to get it going. As far as the strike rate is concerned, Shubman Gill looks a way bit out of color, as well as Nitish Rana, who had a great start to the season. But I for one would love to see someone like Sunil Narine opening the batting, because he had nothing to lose. Because if he goes to open the batting, all he has to do is to just slam bang. If he clicks, it's fine. Otherwise, because he came in at number 4 and he couldn't score much. So it would be better off for Kolkata Knight Riders team management to send someone like Sunil Narine at the top. Say if Sunil Narine stays for 6 overs in the power play, the KKR would eventually end up scoring at least 50 or 60 runs, which would hold them in good state, because that middle order is very strong. It's packed with power hitters in the likes of Andrew Russell, Owen Morgan, Dinesh Karthik, Pat Cummins. So they have quite a few firepower and the batting depth in the middle order. All they need is a good start, and that would hold them in good state in the coming days.
Absolutely. The start is essential. The top 3 batters have to perform. There is no excuse for that. One, if not more, have to actually be there to the end. And if you need to put an Owen Morgan to open, if you need to put a Sunil Ryan to open, then do it. Traditional batting lineups will not work necessarily, and they're showing clear that you need a good start. You need a batsman to anchor the innings. Hence why is not David Malan playing? I'm bewildered. I'd like to get David's thoughts on that as well. Why is it that they keep persisting and not selecting Malan? You're on mute, David.
Have they used up the number of overseas players in the side today, or could they play another one?
I think they would have had to exchange one for the other. Yes.
Right. I quite like the idea of DeBasis and the Rhine opening the batting. He's done it before, and I think that would rub off on Gill, because it would give Gill a bit of time just to play and not feel under pressure. He's got to be the major player. He is a young man. He's a very talented young man, but he's still a young man. So he will take. And I know he's a very confident young man, having met him a few times. But the downside of youth is that he won't have past experience how to deal with, a few low scores and how do I get back into the groove. By having an attacking opening with him will just buy some time for him. All he has to do is, if the coach will say, just rotate the striking, try and get the Rhine back on strike as often as you can. So it's not down to you to hit the boundaries. You just get yourself in. But David Milan, who do you think, Norman, they should, if they're going to bring him in, who would they bring him in for?
That's a great question. I haven't got. I mean, you'd even consider. It's hard. DeBasis and I were talking about this earlier. Is it they're going to take away a batsman or a bowler? That's the question. Are they going to have 3 batters and 1 bowler, or what are they going to do? But I believe they need to improve their batting strength and get players that can play an all-round game.
I'd have to say that the overseas bowlers are doing a fantastic job. Cummings has done well. Russell has been a bit hit and miss, but that is Russell, isn't he? He's hit and miss and then suddenly explode. Russell would be, for me, the one person that you might change, because I think the other bowlers have been pretty consistent in what they're doing. Narine has been consistent. Cummings has been consistent. So it might be that position you might change.
Or, in fact, Chris Gale.
Well, yeah.
But definitely there is a case for David Malan, because Nicholas Puran has been he has looked totally out of sorts. He has 3 ducks in 4 innings, and also today he did hit a six, but he looked totally didn't look like he's going to um, 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 take Punjab to a good score. So I think there is definitely a case for David Malan in place of Nicholas Puran.
In
It's
in
obviously
that case, Norman, definitely. And you feel a bit sorry for Nick Ferrer because it's either been a brilliant catch or he's been run out. His whole series got off on the wrong foot, and as a result of that, he's a bit low in confidence. So yeah, Milan would be a good swap.
Okay. Cashew, we need your thoughts. We need your musical talents and your ability to musically talk about cricket. No, we want your cricket thoughts. What's your take on what David and Nabas and I have been talking about?
First of all, thank you for inviting me on the panel today, and it's great to be talking alongside all three of you. And it's the first time I'm actually meeting David, and I should say that he looks a bit like Sir Anthony Hopkins, who actually won the Oscar today. And I'm not kidding; I really think so.
Because you can't say that he's 83.
But he was at your age at one point of time, isn't it? So you do have the similar looks, yeah.
And I'm half Welsh as well. So
Norman, you're mute. You're on mute. Norman, we didn't hear you. You were on mute.
Maybe you're lucky I was on mute because I was getting angry. My good look.
But talking about cricket, see, I think we are not pointing out Moses Henriques. I mean, his question is also in place, isn't it? I mean, if he's not batting in the top order, I don't think number 6 is his position to bat. And with the ball also, especially these conditions now in Ahmedabad, don't think he would be that potent with the ball anyway. So if you have to bring in David Malan, then why not replace Moses with him? And that also brings in a bit of stability. And I think Puran should not be dropped right now because, as David also pointed out, he had a really unfortunate start to the season, and a run out. And then a couple of occasions when he came in, he had to actually hit out or get out. So you can't really blame a batsman in that sort of situation. So for me, I think Punjab still hasn't found found the right combination. And today's pitch, I think it's as David said, dew should not be that big a factor, or toss should not be that big a factor. So one question that really comes to my mind is, would Punjab have won this game if they were chasing it down? Would KKR have made more than 125 on this pitch batting first? And whatever they would have scored, maybe Punjab would have been more comfortable chasing it down like they did against Mumbai the other night.
I think the point you make about the all-rounders, Keshav, is a really good point. Because I think the overseas players, you can't guarantee anybody's going to get runs and they're going to get wickets. But it is a bit of a waste of a spot if they're just doing a little bit, in terms of if they're bowling 4 overs and making a big contribution. And also they've got the ability to bat a number of overs, not balls. So if you look at Russell and look at Henriquez, then they're not involved in the game that much. They're a bit of a bit player. And actually that seems to be, a little bit of a waste of a spot. And if Malan comes in, he's not going to be batting 6 or 7. He's going to be up front. So that might be a worthwhile variation. Do you understand what I'm saying? One of those overseas players.
Absolutely.
Those all-rounders sometimes are making minimal contributions. But actually you could trade them in for either a specialist batsman or a specialist bowler who is going to bowl 4 overs.
If I have to add to it, because I would like to differ in the sheer fact is that if you have both Puran and Malan in that batting order with the likes of Gale as well, then you have a top 3 foreigners, all are your batsmen. And Punjab, apart from Mohammad Shami, there are hardly any good bowlers. Obviously, Arshdeep had a decent run, but then you have there is not much depth as far as the bowling is concerned. apart from Mohammad Sami. That it puts immense pressure on Sami to deliver.
No, but the fourth spot, which will still be left, you can play a bowler out of Jordan, Meredith, and Richardson, isn't it?
Yeah, but then
It's going to be Jordan. It's going to be Jordan ahead of Meredith and Richardson
Yeah.
the rest of the tournament as well.
Yeah, he can bat as well. I mean, Jordan showed he can contribute with the bat, what he did tonight.
But
He
that
cannot
point of being able to bat can be quite confusing. The thing to look at Chris Jordan, is he going to bowl 4 overs?
I think it has to be either you play Puran or you play Devon Malan. You cannot have both playing. And if you have Chris Gale also batting in that playing 11.
See, I think Punjab, first of all, they don't have the right combination, and even the 11 that they play, the batting order is still not proper. I mean, one good innings from Huda has now deceived them into playing him at number 4 regularly and not using Nicholas Pooran at 4, who is probably one of the more suited players and, a very revolutionary kind of a number 4 T20 contemporary player. So the likes of Pooran and Shah Rukh Khan are being wasted down the order just because Huda played that one good knock, and now they're consistently playing him at 4.
Can I ask you, gentlemen, one question? Chris Gale has had a stellar career. Where did he normally bat?
Opening.
It should always open.
So if you're going to play Chris Gale, play him in a position where he can inside the power play, because he's not frightened of hitting it up in the air. And if he's outside the power play, I think he loses some of his effectiveness. It is a bit like Narayan. I know he's in a different team, but Chris Gale needs to play the way he plays and just bat the way you play. And if he starts launching it over the top and stays in, that can cause havoc to the fielding team.
Yeah,
and the whole innings. It can be 10 overs of Chris Gale can set the tone for what the team's going to get. I think he can. I don't see what he does when he comes in at 4 or 5. I think the expression they use, Keshav, is he eats a lot of balls when he comes in.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't knock it around. He's not somebody
and he can't
pressurize the fielding side. So he either deals in dot balls or boundaries. Well, if you're going to deal in that ratio, go in when the fielders have to be inside the ring.
Yeah, and I think Rahul can easily bat at 4 or 5. It will be beneficial as well for him and the team, because right now when he's coming to open, he knows that, there are a lot of overs left and I can take my own sweet time and, then I can settle into it. But once he's coming at 4 or 5, what he does for India in ODIs as well, then he knows that, I have only this many deliveries possible. So there's no really time to waste or take up a few deliveries, which Gale does at 3. So if Gale is opening, and if you have a Malan at 3, so then you can have Rahul at 4 or Pooran at 4. So you can just switch between these two. So I think that would give Punjab a much better look, isn't it?
Well, the one thing about Gale batting inside the power play is that he will take some dot balls, but he gets out of jail by hitting it over the top to the boundary. If he comes in outside the power play, all his scoring channels are protected. So he'll block it for 2 balls, 3 balls, and then hit it to long on. Whereas actually, if it was in the power play, the guys might be up in the circle. So
yeah, and outside of power play, he can't convert ones into 2s as well. So that's also another problem.
And he's waving half a tree at the ball when he bats. So even if he mishits it, it'll fly out outside the circle.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to bring in some questions, guys, as well. Just a point on Gale from my perspective. When a batsman goes in at first drop, it's very difficult to click straight away and get in the gear, especially if the openers have had a fair degree of the time in batting. It's very difficult to start from scratch, and that's where Gale is failing. The first few balls, he's trying to get his initial kick, and he's not getting it. So Gale for open up for sure. Let's have a look at some of the comments. This one here, Jabashis, can you read that?
Australian bowler Nathan Coulter-Nile said in an interview that he is surprised that Zampa and Ty and Richardson left IPL. What's your take on this?
Yeah. Well, my take would be everybody's an individual, and we live in So basically, we live in extraordinary times, and I think that I think you have to respect the view of an individual. You know that for Colton Nile to come on publicly and question the three guys going, I think is unfair. He doesn't know the conversations these guys are having with their families, and I'm sure with Liam Livingston, he talked about the bubble, which I understand, and I think there are lots of situations. But the one thing's for sure, if you're running a team and you've got guys who are unhappy, not unhappy with their fellow teammates, but generally unhappy, then I think you have to respond to them. Not necessarily the first time you notice it, but if there's a period of time where people are mentally not in a good place, then the best thing is it will eventually affect the dressing room, and the best thing is to respect the view of the individuals and let them go. So,
and they have the support of their franchise as well.
yeah, and I think the way the franchise has responded, I think everybody's been really responsible, and I don't think anybody, the four of us, do not know what it's like to be in a bubble, and that can be, the relief of being in the bubble basis is actually playing. Well, if you're not playing, then that becomes real hard work.
All right.
And you can have a situation. I'm not saying listen. I'm just saying, if it happened to me at a certain time in my career, and you have little children on the end of the telephone crying because they're worried about their father, then you get on the plane and come home.
Exactly.
And we had that in when we lost. We won in 2005 and got hammered by Australia 2006-07. We had a couple of players who really had some issues about being away, and we had to respond in the right way. We had to let them go.
We can never really appreciate what people go through until you're in their shoes. And that's the reality. We can make assumptions about why they do things, but we are not in their shoes. Tabashis, can you read that, please?
Yes, it's from Amresh. He says, I love Kumble to bits as a player, but as a coach, he's just dreadful. Not sure what his instructions to KL Rahul when it comes to his power play batting. Then there's the issue of Shah Rukh Khan.
Yes, well, loaded question. Kumble's coaching, you could argue, is not as good as it should be. There is a. I think KL Rahul needs to relook at his own batting form and his position in the batting order, and I think Kumble can help advise that. But I'm guessing that Rahul's pretty strong in his decision-making process. He wants to captain from the front and open. It's not working.
Well, Rahul is the sort of, I would say, old-fashioned would be a bit of an insult, but he sets himself to bat the whole 20 overs, and he will build up his momentum during those 20 overs. So if it's cut short early doors, which a few times it does, it just doesn't look very good. Norman, he's not a best though. He's not a Warner. And actually, to be fair, you could say that, and this is like heresy. You could actually say that a little bit about Kohli when he goes in. He's still trying to bat in a proper way, and then he builds up his momentum as he goes on. That's why he's such a devastating chaser of a target, because he knows when he has to hit it over the top and increase the run rate. Not quite as effective when he's setting a target. But yeah, it's KJ Rahul is a top player, but again, he came into the series not in the best of form. So, and I think there's a few like that. You see, I think Kohli is not in the best form, and he's not quite the force. You're talking about the very best. So I might be splitting hairs, but he just doesn't seem to be himself. That's all. So.
See, with Rahul, I think it's not just the form, but also the approach, the mindset with which he's batting since he became the captain, actually. Last year, he gave a statement that strike rates are overrated. in T20 cricket, which I don't agree with. And we have seen him bat at a strike rate of 145, averaging over 50 for India. So, and that's something which if you remember, the 2018 India tour of England, he opened with Rohit and he got a smacking 100. I think it was at Manchester, if I'm not wrong. And so we have seen him bat like that when he's not the captain. And ever since he became the captain at Kings 11 Punjab, or now known as Punjab Kings, I have seen this sort of a conservative approach in him, which is actually not affecting just the team scores, but also his own place in Indian team. Because, at the end of England series, we saw he was dropped, Ishan Kishan opened, and then even after Ishan Kishan was not available, it was Kohli opening. So Rahul was actually lost somewhere. And it's not just because of a bad patch of form, but also because the change in the mindset that he has got since he became the captain. So that's why I said if he's not opening, if he's at probably 4 or 5, then automatically he won't have that sort of a buffer period where he'll take up a lot of balls to set up for a big finish. He will be coming there for the big finish. So I think it'll help Punjab if they open with Gale and Mayank.
Do you think, Keshav, that actually Rahul is much more a 50-over player than a 20-over player?
No, I think he's a all-format player, but it's just the change in approach which has been visible in the last couple of years. Because, as I said, for India, he used to play at a strike rate of 150.
And do you think the fact that he's keeping...
I would like to differ. He has been the most consistent batsman in white ball cricket for India.
Yeah.
He has been the most consistent batsman.
That actually being captain, keeping wicket, opening the batting is actually a workload that's too great?
See, it's to each his own. I mean, it seems to be affecting Rahul's batting for sure, and he's not a great captain so far. What I have seen in the 1.5 seasons of IPL last year and now the half season of this one almost. So he seems to have taken the toll of captaincy, and that's affecting his batting. And that's something I've also seen in Rishabh Pant as well a bit. I mean, his strike rates have gone down as well. So it's maybe the responsibility, the extra responsibility which they take, or probably, the insecurity that our batting is not that deep, or the batsmen following me are not in form, so I have to be there till the end. So there could be any reason.
There's a lot of reasons about how captaincy affects people. I mean, in Rishabh Pant's case, I think there is an argument when you have a free spirit, let him be a free spirit. And the captaincy in any format of cricket it's not a mystical science. Most people, if they follow the game, study the opposition, the role as a captain, the great captains, is how they manage their players, and that's normally off the pitch, not on it. So I thought it was he may have said I'd like to do it and whatever, but captaincy can be a bit of a poison chalice if you're not careful. It definitely had an effect on Kartik when he was captain, that he wanted to give it up straight away. So, and Owen Morgan's strength is that he just finds captaincy a really easy thing to do, and he's inspired by it as opposed to being a millstone around his neck. And I think the people who run the teams need to be very careful who they give the captaincy to. And it's not always the best player who should be captain. I've been captained by some guys who are fantastic players, but I would have to say, without mentioning any names, they were shocking captains because they didn't understand the normal mortal. They only saw it through the eyes of a magical player. So the coaches got to be very careful who they appoint as captains. So,
and here I think more than coach, it was probably the management decision or the Punjab ownership decision, and maybe they didn't have as many options for the captaincy. I mean, just because Rahul is the first name on that sheet doesn't mean that he would make a good captain. Something what happens with Pakistan. I mean, they made Babar Azam the captain, but I don't think he's a good captain, and that that might well actually affect his batting as well.
Well,
There are
I
not
think
many.
just
There are
in,
not many options in the Punjab Kings team.
yeah,
Like who?
I think
There are not many options. Who do you appoint the captain in the Punjab team?
Exactly. That's what. Just because they didn't have options, they went with Rahul, and it's clearly affecting his batting. And even though he had orange cap last year, but look at the strike rate. I mean, those runs didn't come in a winning contribution more often than not. They were actually only the stats which look good on paper, but not really contributing to the team scores.
Okay, I've got a comment. This is Milan's a regular on this time slot. Please, Keshu, you read that out. Give the bastards a break.
Good evening to all and good morning to Mr. Norman. Great stream yesterday, by the way. Punjab Kings lack intent right from the start. Captain should lead the way, but he's too cautious at the moment. Yeah, that's what we are talking about, isn't it? I mean, he's cautious. He was earlier cautious because of a very long tail. Jai Richardson coming to bat at 7, which I don't think he would have done all his life before this IPL. And now, even though they have the depth, if still KL Rahul is batting that way, that means either he thinks that the batsmen are not in form, or maybe he thinks that he should be there until the end, holding one end, and the others can play around him. But nothing seems to be working for them.
I love when fans take charge. There's lots of PBKS fans trying to trend Kumble out on Twitter.
See, it's not just Kumble's fault, isn't it? I mean, I've seen this with Punjab. This is actually the first time after a long time where they didn't change the captain and the coach. Otherwise, you have seen in the past, there was Brad Hodge, there was Virender Sehwag, there was Mark Hessen. So they kept changing every year, and they interfere a lot. Jared Kimber told me once that he had a bit of an interaction with the Punjab ownership in the European League once, and he was not wowed with the way they handled things. So I think it has a lot to do how teams work, and that's the results show. Because I don't think Kumble is that bad a coach. He coached India for a year, and we had excellent results.
But he hasn't in his life spent many years coaching, because he's gone off and been the head selector or running some of the provinces. But that question has now been asked about too much dew ruins the game. What can be the solution? I am not an expert on dew in India, but does the dew always come regardless of what area in India you're playing at night time?
More so. It depends on which place you are playing.
So are some places worse than others in terms of the dew?
Yes.
I think it's poor planning.
If you play in Chandigarh, is that very heavy dew there?
Yeah.
Yes.
North of India. Yeah.
Yes.
So the further north you go, is it the further north you go?
Sorry, what?
Further north you go. Yes.
See, I think it's also a poor planning by IPL Council. The fixtures. I mean, they knew that this season it dews a lot. Ahmedabad is a place where IPL has not happened for a long time because this stadium was just recently renovated. So they should have probably have arranged day games at this venue. That way, I think it's poor planning, isn't it?
So the question between
all the franchisee owners take part in that IPL governing council meeting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, whomsoever took that decision, if it's a collective one, still it's a
collective one.
Thing.
It's a collective one. It's a collective one. No one takes a decision.
Guys, can you ask a question for me? Is that given there are no crowds, okay? Is it a massive difference in TV ratings between a day game and a day-night game?
No. Because I think the IPL has been followed by strong viewers. As you can see, if you can, I don't know how we are watching in UK, but here in Hotstar, the IPL matches have been viewed on an average by some 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs people on an average.
Yeah,
And
no, they watch it a lot in the UK, but
yeah,
they obviously watch the highlights when they
and,
finish
and
work.
also in Australia, I believe. Norman, how
Yeah,
is how has been the following with IPL matches in Australia?
the following. Look, it's incredible. Obviously, the time is not suitable to watch it readily because it does finish very late. But we have it on replay, and the conversations are. and you saw it. It's like casual the day before on Anzac Day. I'm
Yeah,
walking down the beach. Wasn't it amazing coming across the general manager of Randwick Rugby and the mayor of Randwick, and they immediately knew what was going on. The random public, it's deceptively strong. Why? And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that in India, the influences of even something like COVID, everybody's talking about the COVID situation in India, and they bring up in the same sentence COVID, cricket. Cricket, COVID. It's in the same conversation. I would argue it's gone to a higher level of interest because of that combination. I think cricket is Australia's starving for cricket. We have not had we knocked on the head the South African tour, didn't we? We knocked on the head. We had the state match had unprecedented interest. Our sporting in general, we're now able to go back to being there. Our need for cricket is there. I think that's we're starving for cricket, and we're looking forward to the World Cup and even the World Test Championship. I know I talk about cricket a lot, but people are coming. When I ask a question, they've got the detail of knowledge of what's happening is amazing. I think it's increased.
so going back to the question about the due, because if the crowds are not relevant, in other words, it doesn't affect it, then surely actually, to play day games where the conditions are roughly the same for both teams. I'm not the due. I think that it just lowers the quality of the cricket because it makes it more difficult for certain types of bowlers or whatever. And I think they missed a trick. I'm not suggesting they change it now or whatever, but they might want to change it when they get to the finals. That actually both sides play on a similar surface, so it becomes a fairer contest rather than having the influence of the toss of a coin. That's only a suggestion, but I think the due it's a huge factor, and to a certain degree does just, I think, for me, reduce the quality of the cricket. It's not always guaranteed that by chasing you'll always win, but I just think the quality of cricket can be just reduced a little bit as a result. But that's
If
only my personal view. So.
if not a day game, then actually they can have an early start to the evening game. They can start at 6 maybe, if not 7:30. That also might
Yeah.
help a bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's wrong? I mean, Indians will watch cricket no matter what time of the day. If you're
The
not going
Yeah.
as a
the
crowd, they'll
7:30
watch it.
p.m. is the prime time, Norman. You have to understand the broadcasters, IPL matches since its inception in 2008, it has always been 7:30. The night games. It has not been 6 p.m. You cannot have an IPL game at 6 p.m. because 7:30 is your prime time, and the broadcaster Star Sports has always maintained it because when you have and talking about day games because it is extremely hot. It is summer here in India, and especially in conditions like Ahmedabad, it is very hot. And when you come to Calcutta, it's very hot. If you go out in the afternoon, you could feel the heat. So it does takes its toll on the players to have matches in the daytime. So that's the reason you have limited number of double headers this season. So I think you have to accept it. Means all the teams have to accept it that due will be a factor, and as the tournament goes ahead, due will be a factor, but you have to cope up with it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's. But so, are you saying that Indians don't watch games on replay?
Mostly they prefer live matches. I would say if when it comes to IPL.
Okay. We'll have to accept that. But look, due is not a good thing. It produces the potential of low scores and it thwarts the bowling. But I guess it's both sides have the same situation. It all comes down to the toss. So we can't differ from that. It's not like one team does it, one team does based on a decision. It's really luck of the draw. And that's what cricket's
and the
all
dressing
about.
Norman, the dressing rooms and the captains and the coaches will go overtime to explain to their teammates that actually winning or losing the toss doesn't decide the fate of the game. Otherwise, the disappointment when the captain when it happens. I'll give you a highlight of in the Ashes of 2005 and at the second test at Edgbaston, Australia are always 1-0 up, and everybody knows, you don't have to be a player, that when the commentator goes to the captain, the first captain, he's won the toss. So Edgbaston, Australia, when you play Edgbaston, you bat first. So the two dressing rooms are side by side at Edgbaston. Goes Ricky Ponting. I'm in the England dressing room. The coin goes up. We can't hear who's won, other than Mark Nicholas going to speak to Ricky Ponting. So we assume that Australia have won the toss and they will bat. Australia win the toss and field, which possibly goes down as one of the most horrendous decisions of all time. The England dressing room is in shock and jubilation. Next door, the Australians are throwing things at the wall, and they're so frustrated, and the series hinged on little things like that. So the game of cricket is such a remarkable game that is played with such skill by 22 people, yet one act of luck, which is the toss of the coin, could have such a huge impact. It's quite remarkable, really.
And Australia will always use, when they lose the toss, that was the reason why they lost. Is that what you're saying?
In this instance, yes. Well, actually, treading on a cricket ball treading the cricket ball did help a touch when Glenn McGrath trod on the ball before the game started.
Look at David. He's gloating. He's reminiscing on the tour that you won. And, of course, being the head of selectors, you take all the credit. I'm disgusted.
I'm just talking about the toss of a coin. And actually, Norman, I am the one person in the world who is privileged or able to talk about the toss of the coin, because in the history of English cricket, there's only been one game decided by the toss of the coin in which I was involved, and I lost the toss, so and therefore lost the game.
Okay. But Kesha and Tobias, David's, this is his moment to give me a subliminal message about how England smashed Australia. I know this tactic. I've seen this tactic before.
Well, just switch on the TV in November and December. You'll see it again. Because England.
I just want to ask, because I just want to ask David a question, because being a part of the media, does toss has too much of a bearing in T20 cricket?
I don't. I think one of the great qualities of Steve Waugh and Mark Taylor is they made a big thing about the fact that toss is irrelevant. It's actually how you play. I'm just saying that in the circumstances of the IPL, it is actually could be perceived to be quite a big advantage. You still have to play well, and I think the coaches and the captains have to work overtime to make sure the players don't get too despondent when their side loses a toss. Because it's not always guaranteed chasing you win, because there have been games, even this series, where it hasn't worked out that well. But it does have a big part to play, certainly. So what you're wanting is a game of cricket debate where both sides play on the same surface. I think is a sort of a pipe dream that you would want. So, but I think that one bowling attack that's handicapped with a severely wet ball compared to the other side is quite a big advantage. And also the dew on a wicket that's dry also makes the ball come onto the bat a bit quicker as well. So it's not only difficult for the bowlers to handle, but also the batting conditions can marginally improve a bit. Still doesn't mean you're going to lose, but Kashyap, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And there was a question right on the queue about Ravi Bishnoi, and there was a mention that even with so much of dew, he still bowled 4 overs for just 18 runs and spun the ball quite a bit. So that tells a lot about the talent this guy has.
Well,
Just
I would say he's. I would have to say that is a fantastic effort. Bowling leg spin in a dry situation is hard enough, let alone with a bar of soap. So that's a top effort.
yeah, and what a catch you took,
Yeah, brilliant.
Norman. Did you see
So I
the?
was just gonna make a point. Keshu, can you play "Candle in the Wind"?
Sorry, one.
Can you play the song "Candle in the Wind"?
I would have to go
You'd have to
a bit.
practice, Norman. You can't make requests like that.
No. I'm not that familiar with the song, so I'm not familiar with the lyrics and the notes.
It's an Elton John song, Kashu.
Yeah.
No, I heard it long back.
So
All right,
if you go
that's
to
a task for you for
YouTube
next
and
time,
go to
when David
the
and
ceremony
Sebastian are on, you're to
where
prepare
Elton
that
John's
song.
playing,
I know
by
you're
the
very
piano.
talented. Just play a few bars of Imagine. I want David to hear it.
Of Imagine.
This is a cricket program.
David, this is interesting. Okay, we'll do it later. All right, Carl.
Yeah, we'll do it later because I've got to go. But no, that's an insulting remark to make to you, Keshu. I know you're really good. And hopefully we'll come on again and we can have a jam session. Well, a jam
Absolutely.
session with you.
Yeah.
So, Norman, I've got to head
my
off.
question is, David, can you sing? David's voice.
Norman?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So I'm saying that I've got to head off in a minute. So
What?
I'll
You're not answering my question.
Oh no, what is your question?
Can you sing?
Can you sing?
Can I sing? Definitely not.
Oh, good. Even better.
People would leave the room with me singing. And actually at the same time they would pay to watch me ski, snow ski, because my lack of coordination is such that it would be quite entertaining. So there are some things I can do, Norman, and there's some things I cannot. So that's one of them.
All right, so you have to leave, do you, David?
Sorry?
Do you have to leave?
Yeah. So
Okay.
hopefully
Thank you,
I
David.
will.
We'll see you in the next few
I'll
days.
be available. I'm not sure which days this week, but I'll let you know, Norman. But it's
Thank you,
always
David.
been a pleasure. Tobias, it's very good to see you. Keshu, great pleasure to meet you. And I will catch up with you soon, Norman.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you
I
very
hope
much.
everybody stays safe in India.
Yes.
you.
See you later.
See ya. Keshu, we're very blessed to have David on the show. He's magnificent. He gives us his time. He is. Can you believe the man who was the head of selectors, chairman of selectors for England, ECB? He selected that whole 10 years of the Michael Vaughns, the Flintoffs, the Kevin Petersons, the Monty Panesars, a whole range of people. And he has such an insightful knowledge. And he's only left the ECB as recently as late last year. Everybody that comes on, Monty Panesar, Adam Hollyoake, they all revere him. They adore him. He's an amazing guy. Was very close to Princess Diana. Was there. If you go to the clip of Princess Diana's funeral, where Elton John plays "Candle in the Wind," you see the piano, and right next to the piano, near almost in singing distance of Elton John, is David Graven. Very special man. Very special. Almost as special as Tabasas.
You know, it's a privilege for me to be speaking to him, and thanks to you, Norman.
Sorry?
It's a privilege for me to be speaking to David and even everyone who's here so far. So thanks to you for bringing me on here.
Well, it's good to bring people together, especially learned people. Hopefully people that are not as good looking as me, because I don't want them capturing the limelight. Tabasas, would you stop texting your girlfriend? What are you texting? There's one way of making people stop texting is to... I'm joking. All right. So we'll go a bit longer.
I might have to leave, Norman, because
because
I might have to leave.
break.
I might have to leave because It's
Okay.
1:30. I have to
Bashes,
wake
thank you.
tomorrow morning. Yeah.
All right, Bashes. Kiss,
Thank
kiss.
you. Thank you, Keshav. Thank you very much. And thank you,
Thank
Norman.
you. Thank you. Thank you,
Kiss,
Dada.
kiss.
See you soon.
Kiss, kiss.
Yeah.
Oh, that was one way of getting rid of him quicker. No, we're very fortunate. I mean, we haven't seen Adam Holyoke yet. He'll be on soon. Not today, but in future days. Monty's been on a lot as well. They're very, especially when it comes to a series in England, they're very relevant. Chris Vernon, obviously, Parna's not here today. I have to respect it, as you know. You and I are night owls. We're good at this time of the day, but some people just aren't. I mean, we mustn't forget. I mean, it's a good time for the likes of David. That's about what 9 p.m. It's pretty reasonable. But for Debashes,
Yeah.
it's your time. It's it's well past 1. In my case, it's 5:45 in the morning. It's ridiculous. And we have a renaissance about this time of the day, Kesha. We get this sudden surge of people coming slowly on deck there, and it's interesting, very interesting. I am going to contemplate also. Well, I'm actually going to instigate another session about 2 o'clock my time, which is about 8:30, 9 a.m. in the morning, to talk about the post match, because I think a lot of people are willing. Most of the people who are doing these broadcasts are moving to that time slot because people are more able to sleep and then get up and watch rather than having to stay up this late to watch. So I'm going to keep this program, but I'm going to add another one on and transition over a week or so. That's the idea of it. So, but you've been great, and I really appreciate you coming on, because your show, I've had a look at your show as recently as even today, and you have some guests you bring on. Who are your guests? Tell me about your guests.
The one I do daily.
Well, you have the one that goes post-match, don't you?
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine. He's from UK, and he's actually a Pakistani. I told you, right, that we wanted to. Yeah. So he's got his own channel as well, and he collaborates often with there's this channel called Cricket for Americans. So it's called CFA, Cricket for Americans, and a couple of American guys actually talk about cricket. They've learned a lot about cricket because it's not that prominent in America. So through them, I got to know about him. And then there was this another guy, Jamie Alter. He's with Cricket Info.
Yeah.
Yeah, so through Jamie Alter, then through him, I got to know about Jamie Alter, and later on, more and more people. So yeah, he's a great guy, knowledgeable guy, and I love the banter that happens between us during the game.
That's great. I mean, America's an interesting audience. We obviously have Americans watching us as well, but it's always intriguing to watch people who are American talking about cricket. I don't mean people who are expats, but actual Americans. As I think you know, Jim Farbanek is a friend of mine from California. He was a gridiron player himself. He's a stand-up comedian. He came on a few months ago. Mind you, he had a few to drink, so it's a bit more of an interesting conversation.
There's a question for you.
Is probably the funniest man I've ever met in my life. He has this incredible memory. He remembers everything about people and then brings it up in the most comical way. He can put on a voice of a young Japanese girl despite being a massive guy, and you don't know that it's not a Japanese girl. He's amazing and is so clever. He's often rung me up pretending to be someone that he's like that, and I'm there fooled for about a few minutes. Quite funny. All right, what do you think of? Do you think honestly the IPL will not continue at some stage? Are they going to persist if the exodus of players continues and if there's a COVID outbreak of some sort? What do you think?
I think it might go the distance because the good thing is it's now out of Mumbai. Mumbai was one of the worst hit cities by COVID. The whole state of Maharashtra was very badly hit. So now they're out of it. They're out of Chennai as well, which was again one of the worst hit cities. So now since it's gone to Delhi and Ahmedabad, and later on it will go to Bangalore and Kolkata. And there's Hyderabad on standby. If anything goes wrong, they can move it there as well. So big relief would be getting it out of Mumbai. That would give a bit of a breathing space to a lot of players who had some sort of paranoia or some concerns about COVID. So that way, I think the timing was good that we have moved out of Mumbai, so it might continue.
Okay. But you're talking about cities now rather than the overall Indian situation, because you could say one city's worse than the other, but quite frankly, the whole country's not good. That's my concern.
See, the whole country is not good, yes, but you have to see where the majority of cases are coming from, and there are a few cities which is contributing to the major chunk of COVID cases, and that way Mumbai was one of them, Chennai was one of them, even Delhi is one of them, but it's not as bad as Mumbai. So that way, I think they should have probably initially looked at smaller cities, smaller centers for these games this year. But then, IPL schedule was done way before when the COVID second wave hadn't really hit India. So you can't really blame them in that sense.
Here's a question for Gurudutta Achara. He says, I have a question for Norman. When do you sleep? I sleep generally on air between questions. So I get some sleep that way. You may see me going clonk. If I'm being really honest with you, this is what, the 21st game. We're not even close to halfway yet. I'm going to be a mess by the end of this, if I'm not already. So I'm trying, straight after this report now, I'll try and get some sleep for a while. But it's rather, I'm adjusting. In a bizarre way, I'm adjusting. I'm learning to sleep at times that I would never have thought of sleeping. So, yes, I'm a little bit, I probably look worse for wear, but mentally I'm as sharp as a tack. Well, at least that's what I think.
Well, that way, I think Jared did a good thing by moving to UK. So, his time zone is pretty much comfortable now.
Is what, completely wrong? No,
I'm saying the time zone he is in, the time zone it's pretty much comfortable for him, just like David, because in UK it's very...
It is, but he has to put his program now, not at this sort of time. He has to go on about, like, whatever, what is it? I don't know, 1 o'clock or whatever, my time, which actually he does a lot of his work really early in the morning, his time. And he doesn't, I think he doesn't necessarily do shows religiously at certain times of day every day. I don't think he's that consistent. He's worked out, in fact, a lot of the platforms, Melinda Farrell with hers, Jeff Lemon, Adam Collins, a lot of these guys do their times not every day. And
but Jared is doing every day. I think he's not doing immediately after the match. He puts the video next day during morning time, and that's when he's doing every day, because I asked him how does it feel to be covering IPL. So he the first thing he said that I'm not used to covering a cricket game every day. I used to take a break, at least a 1 day break in between games, but this is new for me, and so far I'm enjoying it. So he's doing it every day.
Yeah, okay. But he's not doing them straight after the match.
Yeah.
Or before the match. He's doing it differently. But he has a lot more, not only analysis, but he has a lot more quirkiness to his show.
Yeah.
It's unique, and that's why he's successful. And that's why he's successful.
And he brings a lot of interesting stats as well, which other people don't.
Oh, yeah. No, it is very unique. I'm going to collaborate with him. We've been talking about collaborating. I mean, again, I've known him for 15 years. We're good friends. He and I will do something at some stage, but I'm not rushed about that. I don't think we complement each other. We're not against each other. He and I are great friends. I'm happy when he's doing well. He's happy when I'm doing well. Melinda, it's like a certain clan of us all together that we're very good friends. All right. People saying, Norman, you make us jealous. Driving in your car and having a coffee at our Indian time at 3 a.m. That's true. It's surprisingly dark today. It should be. Yesterday it was actually a lot lighter, wasn't it? By this stage, I started to get the sun coming through the window. In fact, it looks very dark out there. There must be a bit of cloud cover. Not a very pleasant day today, I'm guessing.
So how many times a day you go live on the channel?
Well, I'm doing live for other channels too, don't forget, for extra
Yeah.
time. I'm doing that twice a day and mine a third. So I would have done more on mine had I had more time. But I do breaking news types things, like the whole discussion about Richardson and Zampa not playing, not going home. I try to give that immediately when I hear it. I get out there. It all depends. I mean, I'm very much open to as many as I need to. I'm going to talk to the public a lot more. I believe that. I mean, my recent post, as you may have seen, a week ago, I have a post which has over 300,000 views on a collaborative effort. And that's very sizable views on collaborations, and I love those. They're my favorite. So
yeah, and I asked because a couple of days ago you were live in the daytime as well with the
that was
Monty.
a double header.
Yeah, with Monty and
and Monty was available, and so was and I was at a ground. I was hoping to do more of an interactive session at the ground with the public, but I have to respect rugby league players are cricket fans, but when their team wins or loses, they're not in the mood to be talking about cricket. If they're not cricket, it's surprising the mood of players fans differs between events. But they were I think they were also saw, why am I asking about cricket? And I didn't have a tripod. I just had my iPhone. So you imagine someone approaching you with an iPhone. It doesn't look like a true cameraman. It doesn't look like a true broadcaster. And they were a bit suspicious of me. They thought I was some random dude who was either drunk, trying to get their attention. It was a very interesting dynamic. Had I been there with my tripod, standing there, I would have people coming up to me. So I've learned my lesson there. I'll put my tripod and look like I'm on air rather than just having my mobile phone and running up to you. I looked a bit scared. I go, "Oh, you want to come on TV?" And they're going, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" It was quite funny. It was hilarious. But no, I mean, the likes of Anisha, who's a very well-known Indian host. She was she was called the KKR girl at one stage. She's very good. She'll be doing more work with me on double-headed days, especially. She's on lots of platforms. And I've been a partner when she's not studying. I'm afraid you haven't met Pretty yet, have you? Pretty Apala?
I have not met Anisha or Preeti or any of other girls other than Aparna. I've met only Aparna.
Yeah, well, Pretty is in the middle of the Oscars at the moment. I'm not exactly sure what she's doing, but she's at Oscar parties. She's not in any movies herself, but it's an intriguing one. Time. Oh, okay. What time is it in Australia? You guys have to learn to use your bloody phone. Why do you keep asking me? Can't you look at your own phones? Jesus. The time is
4.5 hours.
5:56 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, people just have to remember Australia is 4.5 hours ahead of us. At least one time zone, isn't it? How much is Perth?
Sorry?
What's the difference in Sydney and Perth? Is it 3 hours?
It's 2 hours currently.
2 hours. Okay.
It may have gone back to 3. I can't recall now. It's either 2 or 3. But yeah, then you've got obviously the West Indies is something like 15, 16, 17 hours behind, depending where you look. Then America's whatever, that's about the same. And then England is 9. We're ahead of the rest of our time. We're ahead of the rest of the world. We are doing things. I'm already into my morning session. You guys is probably not getting even to bed yet. So we're depending on where you are.
But New Zealand is even ahead of you.
Yeah, New Zealand are ahead of us, at least in terms of their time zone. I don't know about the rest of us. So,
well, they are ahead of you in ICC rankings as well right now.
Sorry?
They are ahead of you in ICC rankings as well right now.
If you look over the last 100 years of cricket, New Zealand's only been in. I can't remember the year they came in. They came in pretty late, actually, 40s or something, 30s. In the last 100 years, New Zealand haven't been ahead. Let's be honest. They're still They're still recovering from Greg Chappell getting his brother Trevor to bowl underarm, so they couldn't handle that. Okay, not a bad question. Not a bad question. The fact is that you'd have to say India, but England will be up there. But I think it has to be India, especially with all these restrictions on play with COVID and the like. India's had the luxury of playing a lot of cricket in their own country at a high level. So their exposure, as well as England, will be pretty pronounced. Australia, oh my God, Australia is abysmal. We will be struggling massively struggling.
I think New Zealand might do good because they have good spinners in Santner and Ish Sodhi. And the batting also looks pretty good, like well-rounded team.
Yeah, I mean, Jamison's certainly one of the Trent Bolt and obviously South End, whole range of players. They're a very good playing it.
I don't think Jamieson would be in their first 11.
Well, he won't be in the T20 versus 11.
I don't think so.
What? Why would you not think so?
Because they have better options, isn't it?
Well,
if they have to play 3 seamers in India on the opening game, they will go with Trent Bolt, Tim Southee, and Lockie Ferguson.
Yeah, I mean, all that just goes to show how strong they are. If you're saying that Jamison won't make the side, that's a pretty damn strong side if he's not even in it. Let's be honest. New Zealand always do well in World Cups. They always get through into the semi-final positions, and as we know, a lot of the time they make the final. They make the final a hell of a lot. They don't win any of them, but they make the final.
You saw the recently concluded New Zealand versus Australia T20 series. So yeah. Jamieson was not at all. He didn't look like a T20 bowler. I mean, he might have great stats in Test matches, averages more than 50 with the bat, 36 wickets in 6 games. But T20, I mean, even his domestic numbers are not that great. I still wonder how he got 15 crore at IPL.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay. I'm just looking at one of the questions there. There's a question there about my favourite Zimbabwean player. Oh, my God. I mean, if I go back into the history, is it Henry Olongo? Was he Kenyan? What was he?
No, he was a Kenyan, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Henry Olongo. I've met him. I've interviewed him. He was amazing. He lives in Australia now, lives in South Australia. If you're talking about historically, yes, I'd say it would be him. And what about, the new sensation, Devon Conway. Are we talking about Cornwall, or are we talking about there?
No, Conway, the New Zealand number 3.
Oh, yes. Who was actually South African.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually, well, he's playing for New Zealand, but he's actually South African.
It's kind of like...
he looked good. He's come in. He's qualified. Yeah. Have you seen him play? He's an attacking batsman.
Do you see the similarity between David Malan and Devon Conway? Both from South Africa, playing for other teams at number 3, doing really good consistently, averaging over 50. So many similarities.
We're going to see more and more South African players leave South Africa now and go elsewhere. Yeah. And they're going to go, when they're younger, they're going to realise that potential may be better suited somewhere else, like a New Zealand or Australia or wherever. In fact, we may see an exodus coming to Australia. When they look back to Kepler Wessels, which he played a long time ago for both Australia and West South Africa. Yeah. Amazing. But the reality is that, we haven't talked about South Africa much. Apparently there's been some decision today. Ferosa from the South African, one of the media girls there, she talked about it in an article. Gee, what a mess. They almost got themselves kicked out of world cricket altogether. Mm. There's something diabolically wrong there. It's really bad. And the whole quota system is not working. There's all sorts of issues. It just seems to be endless, actually. And I think I told you about how the South African girls were paid $1,000 or whatever equivalent too much for a whole season, they thought, which wasn't too much. And then then the next season they took the $1,000 off and a further $1,000 because they paid them too much. How can
Well,
it go?
you still didn't answer who's your favorite current Zimbabwe player. You still didn't answer that.
I did. I said Henry Olonga.
No. He's
Oh.
asking current, yeah.
Oh. It's a hard one because I don't really I don't
How
know
many
whether-
names? Do you remember any
Brendan
of the
Taylor.
current?
Probably Brendan Taylor.
Okay.
And they got some. I mean, Brendan Taylor's been around for a while. He certainly is. They blood new players, but they also have a lot of players which have they got somebody called Luke Jongwe who took some 9 wickets.
Yeah. But do you know who's
they're not
the?
short of good fast bowlers, I'll tell you. But
Do you know the current captain of the Zimbabwe team?
who?
Who's the current captain in Zimbabwe team? Do you know that?
Well, they're saying Sean Williams.
Yeah.
But Brendan Taylor was once a captain of note, wasn't he? He was their regular. He was a pretty well. Sean Williams, I don't know a lot about him, to be honest. But the very fact that he's got an Anglo-Saxon name says it all. They're very still got this. Realistically, they have a lot of natural. They have issues with some of their players. They've got a lot of. I mean, Zimbabwe's a bit like the Pakistan of subcontinent, meaning that they bring out these bowlers out of nowhere. They're remarkably good at their cricket. So is Kenya, for that matter, as well. But
I think
I've been to Zimbabwe. It is one of the most diabolically dangerous places I've been to. You get out of the plane. You get out of the plane. There's a little shed down there. So you walk from the plane to the shed, and you see your bags being put onto a trolley and going as well. But while you're walking along, you see people ransacking your bags in front of your eyes on the trolley. So there's staff working on this airport, completely uncontrolled, rampaging through your bags, taking everything that's not nailed down, and you're in horror because you're walking not far from it and seeing it with your own 2 eyes. And by the time you get to the shed, your bags are hard to think of missing. Can you imagine?
So
that?
is this in Harare or Bulawayo?
That was close to the Victoria Falls in a more touristy airport, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what airport it is. It was horrific, and I believe it's no different. Zimbabwe's got some real issues. There's no doubt about that. So does South Africa.
But just like
dangerous.
Yeah, just like South Africa, I think Zimbabwe also suffered from Kolpak, isn't it? I mean, there's Colin D. Grandhome, there's Curran Brothers, Gary Balance. All these guys went on to play for different teams.
And what did you do? I mean, if you're a talented cricketer, and then you go somewhere which was stable and have a better financial base, you'd go very quickly. Yeah. There's quite a few. So Andre Nell was another one that went to the county system in England, giving up playing for his country, going to play county where he can actually make a pretty good living. I don't blame him. It's South African cricket is on a massive nosedive. Massive nosedive. And look at AB de Villiers and the like, to say Faf du Plessis. They could still be playing if they really wanted to, but they choose not to. I mean, they may bring AB de Villiers in for the World Cup. They may, but he'll only touch it because it's a World Cup. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he wouldn't touch it. And realistically, he's making too much money elsewhere for Middlesex and for whatever else he's doing. You know, I know a lot of people in South Africa. In fact, I'm just thinking of the name of the person, Jacques Rudolph, a former opening batsman for South Africa. He runs a safari or a tourism business, and I've tried for a while to get something up and running with him. We talk quite regularly. He has a great safari, but it's just no one wants to go there.
Okay, I have a question. For you. There used to be a time when foreigner players would come to play in the Sheffield Shield. Why is it not happening as much these days?
I can't give you an answer to that one. I don't know. Look, I know a lot about the female cricket side of things. I told you that Shabnam Ismail and Trisha Shetty are 2 people that I help out quite greatly. They've been frustrated for a while. they're only happy when they're travelling overseas and they're going to ICC tournaments where they get paid, or a BBL where they get paid quite significantly. That's their saviour, because the South African Cricket Board are paying them pretty poor, in fact, very poorly. Probably not as poorly as Sri Lanka and Bangladesh are, but they're still paying them pretty poorly. And I think South Africa has all sorts of other inbuilt issues with race. We all know that they've got, it's a very disillusioned country. And I see South Africa nosediving. The next 5 years, South Africa will be barely feeling a good side.
Yeah. But my question was different. I think you probably didn't hear it right. I asked just like how for overseas players go to play county cricket. There used to be a time when overseas player would go to play Australian domestic cricket as well, the Sheffield Shield.
Okay, I didn't hear. Okay. We don't. When you say domestic cricket, do you mean not state but below state? Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean Sheffield Shield.
For state?
Yeah, the state domestic cricket, yeah.
Okay.
First class.
There used to be a day when everybody would come to Australia, not unlike the county circuit.
Yeah.
But I think the short form of the version of the game, where the money is where people are going. I don't think we had a restriction. I think it was 2 players per side, but I think we're actually even less than that now. I think it's even less, because Daniel Day Drummond or something, his name is, he's from Kent, a fringe player like Sam Billings. They play grade cricket, not even for state. We seem to have, there must be more to it than what meets the eye, but we seem to have completely stopped international players playing state cricket, as in 4-day versions of the games or domestic. I think there's a complete stoppage there. They're more geared towards playing BBL. They're going to be flowing out there, because don't forget, Cricket Australia and my state, Cricket New South Wales, own the BBL teams.
Yeah.
Sydney Thunder and Sydney Sixers are effectively a part of that Cricket Australia structure. So they want people to play that tournament rather than play for the state, for a lot of reasons. And it's interesting though, because Sheffield Shield state cricket's lost its flavour. It's not played as frequently. It's always an afterthought.
Because I thought
brought out for that.
I thought maybe they changed the rules that now the overseas players are not allowed. Maybe that's why it happening.
I don't think that's the reason. I'm not aware of it being that reason. I don't think it's that obvious. It's because they want them to play the big money short version tournaments. I think that's probably what it is. Because and how do people find time if you're playing at top level? How do you find time?
No, not the top level players, but maybe the fringe players. Just like recently, Pakistan has started inviting players from other countries. They've given one slot, and Aaron Summers from Australia was the first one to play for them.
Well, most of the players that come internationally, in fact, for the domestic season, I'm talking about within, say, the Sydney grade competition, which is probably the strongest grade competition in the world, even more than some of the county divisions. We have, I know for a fact, we're only allowed 2 overseas players in the team. Okay? So they play in that structure, definitely. We have a lot of Irish players that come to Ramac Petersham, a lot of English players doing that. We have a smattering of, Sri Lankan, Pakistani, and whatever countries you can imagine playing domestically. In fact, I got a phone call last night from Dulip Sanawira, who's actually the brother of Tilan Sanawira, an ex-Sri Lankan player, who's based in Melbourne, who's one of the chief selectors for Cricket Victoria. And they're looking at selecting Rebecca Van Dort and Nipuni Hunsaker for the Victorian side, which is a great thing. Those 2 girls played for Sri Lanka. And he rang me up and he wanted to know certain questions. I said, well, why are you talking to me? Talk to the girls. He was asking me questions that I can answer, but I shouldn't be answering. It's really, he needs to ask them. So I'm very proud of that, actually, because these 2 girls, if they make the Victorian side, they could end up in the Australian side eventually. And
isn't Tom Cooper from Netherlands who plays in Australia as well?
Yeah, but I think he's got dual citizenship, actually.
Yeah, just like Moni Mokel has got now.
Yeah, Moni Mokel's become an Australian almost. Yeah. He got married to someone in Australia. That's different though. That's not really up and coming players playing for their country. They're
Yeah.
here because of other reasons. Well, we've got obviously Alan Mullally, who comes to my show. He's obviously well old now, but he played for England. Adam Holyoak played for England. They've
Yeah.
got roots in Australia. But, it's more that, but you're right. There is a lack of players playing, but not in the domestic tournament, as in the grade competition. There are plenty, but it's 2 per team. So I'm not aware. I'm pretty sure there's not a rule stopping them playing for New South Wales, but it is not for some reason. I don't know why.
There's a Chris Vernon fan club. Wow, there's a comment from them.
Where's that?
The last comment.
Where is Chris? You asked Chris that. Chris was he was invited to come today, and he was actually told me yesterday he was coming today, so he'll be here. Don't worry. But I wonder who that Chris Vernon fan club is. Is it Chris himself? But I don't think I see the fan club very. I think I often see Chris texting when he's online. I wonder whether he's actually posting at the same time. That's Chris.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Massey B. Hey, Norm, what's this Michael Bevan doing now? Which current play can you appear Michael Bevan to? Okay, Michael Bevan, his wife Tracy, ex-wife Tracy, runs the McGrath Foundation. I know her very well. Michael Bevan's not doing that. In fact, Michael Bevan wants to be as further from cricket as he possibly can, as far as I'm aware. I think he's a bit over cricket. Some of these people that play cricket all their life actually go in a completely different direction, and I think Michael Bevan's one of them. He's a bit media shy now. And who was the best person to compare to Michael Bevan? Oh my God.
MS Dhoni.
Who?
Dhoni.
Dhoni.
Yeah. As a finisher.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, he's asking current player, so maybe not Dhoni right now, the old Dhoni, but currently somebody batting at 6 and finishing games off. That's the right comparison.
who?
Anyone who's batting at 6 and finishing off the games, I think, who comes to your mind?
I mean, look, you can't say anyone. That's a bit of an extreme. It can't be anyone.
No.
It's got to be someone.
I said anyone who's finishing games at 6. So
That's too many players. I mean, really, I'd argue Ben Stokes. In form, he would be the right person to say.
yeah, maybe.
The way he won a test match back at, I can't remember, a fairly recent series where he scored an amazing century and won the game for them. That was Bevan-like, although a different format of the game.
The kind of innings Kane Williamson played last night, maybe something like Bevan would do.
Yeah. Actually, Bairstow would probably be the closest. And Butler, if he bats down the order, could do it.
Yeah.
So, Butler to me is, well, he's been underperforming as well. He's been very quiet. He brought his whole family with him, his wife and his kids. So,
Yeah.
all
You
right.
seem to be sleepy right now.
Sorry?
You seem to be sleepy right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'd wonder if I went. I mean, I plan if there was no COVID in India, I'd be there now. I'd be at the matches. I'd be covering them. I'd be following the circuit around.
Have you been to India on previous IPL stints?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been to India. I've been to IPLs. I was with Kunal Sharma, who was at the time MS Dhoni's bat, the company Spartan. I was sitting with MS Dhoni's manager, who's his schoolmate. What's his name? His name's Pandey too, isn't it?
Arun Pandey.
Arun Pandey.
Yeah.
Well, I spent time with him. I was very lucky, actually. I got privileged access to the grounds in Chennai when CSK were doing really well. I've also been to the opening ceremonies in Kolkata with Debashis and a whole group of people. Very privileged. We were there for. I arrived in Kolkata, and I was taken straight from the airport, straight to Eden Gardens, straight to meet Ganguly.
I went to Kolkata last year, and if I had known Debashish by then, I probably would have met him there.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Mumbai was there. I was on a cricket tour when I was actually playing, and we were in Delhi. We went to the Delhi matches. I went to Amritsar, spent time in Inzamam al Haq and Harbhajan Singh, and I went to Visak, which was in April, of course. And I've been many a time to Mumbai. I went to a test match in Bangalore between India and Pakistan. It was in 2008. Oh my God, I can keep going. I've been to Agra several times. I've been on a few cricket tours there. Been to Kolkata many times. Clearly, I love the place. I've probably been to India about 20 times.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Sri Lanka is about 30 or 40 times. Having been married to a Sri Lankan.
yeah.
Bangladesh quite a few times.
The next time you come to India, probably we'll catch up.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a show from your lounge room.
Absolutely. And I'll be playing music live in front of you instead of on a live stream.
I have a lot of good friends in Mumbai, actually. Some people who, a lady who's actually a Bollywood makeup artist, Anita, her name is Makar. She's a great friend of mine. And then all the cricketers like Gargi, one of the state players, Gargi, Wankar. She's actually a very fast bowler. Incredible. She's borderline playing for India. She's really close. Good friend of mine. So yeah, I'm very blessed to have good friends. Now I've got yourself included, so we'll be fine.
Did you play cricket as well in your back in the day?
Do I play cricket here in Australia?
Yeah.
Yes, for the SCG 11. I've played the most games for the SCG team. And we have Simon Kadich, Stuart McGill, Stuart Clark. They're all involved. A whole range of other players you may not know. Jason Sanger was a young kid. A number of football identities. But we play usually at the SCG a number of times a year. On the SCG itself, we make tours to Melbourne, to the MCG, Adelaide. We go internationally. We play a lot of the grade grounds like Coogee, which is I'm living near. Yeah, I play regularly for the SCG 11. It's a pretty good comp, and I used to play a lot more than that, of course. But I'm getting older, so. But
I meant in your younger days. Like, did you want to represent Australia, or until what level did you play?
When I was younger,
yeah,
a lot of my contemporaries went up to play for the high levels. Yes, but I was actually, when I was younger, into cricket. Yes, and I played a good level of cricket, but I was also in the rugby league at the time. I played a lot of rugby league, and I was in that mix. So I played cricket then for most of my life. I played with a lot of guys that played. Like it was a guy called John Reinberger, who you wouldn't know, but he played probably the most matches for New South Wales. A lot of those my contemporaries ended up playing for the highest level. Not for Australia. I mean, I know Jeff Lawson and Mike Whitney very well. They're all been very close to me. The Doug Waters, they were all a bit older than me. I mean, I can remember being a kid and going to watch Doug Water play great cricket for Cumberland, which is now Parramatta. And he'd be there with a cigarette, a can of beer, and cards, and be playing. Yeah, so I didn't. I mean, of course, I would love to have played for Australia. I probably wasn't that good. Let's be honest.
So, were you a bowler or a batsman?
I was actually a wicketkeeper. That was my main role. But I was an upper and a batsman as well. And I would add my ladder. Now I don't keep as much. I actually bowl little Doug Walters wobblies.
Okay.
And I don't. Yeah. We have, like, for example, at SCG 11, we have a guy called Arthur Watson, who was an umpire. He's the most capped umpire in the world. He also umpired national level, international level. He was one of the umpires at World Series cricket. He umpired Viv Richards and all that era. Can you believe? He hasn't stopped. I think he's got well over 1,000 first-class matches.
Wow,
that's a lot. And he usually umpires with me. And he is so cheeky. He secretively ribs me when I'm bowling. Like he makes sly comments as I'm running into bowl. Like he's that cheeky. And another guy, Carl Wenzel. He was the first person to wear a helmet as an umpire.
Oh, okay.
So he got hit in the head by a ball while umpiring from a batter, and he made the decision to wear a helmet. Hang on a minute. The Chris Vernon fan club is writing in. Is that Hindi?
Yeah, that's Hindi, and that's probably kind of a spam. So that looks like a fake ID.
I'm gonna have to get a photograph of that. So it's actually like it's the Chris Vernon fan club is not Chris.
I don't think I don't think you should take its photo, because the translation is rather unwanted.
I'm trying to get a screenshot. Hang on. Oh, damn it. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, I don't think you should show it to anyone who understands Hindi, because it roughly translates to he's actually jerking off right now.
He's turning off.
Jerking off.
Oh, really? That's what he says.
Yeah.
So Chris Vernon's fan club is saying that they're jerking off. Is that right? Wow, that's a great fan club for Chris. You think for IPL 14 things are gloomy? 14 or 20? Well, when IPL? Oh, you mean IPL as in the 14th year? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 2014. Okay, it is gloomy for sure. Can you advise him to do? Keshav, can you advise him to do cricket else? I don't get that. Are you meant to be telling someone to do it, or are you meant?
No, I don't know what he means actually.
Okay, I'm getting to explain. Yeah, okay. So you've done that. Ha ha. Okay. All right. That's going to get back to Chris. That is, because his fan club is admitting to jerking off. That's really that's a worry. I'm a bit disturbed about that. I'm trying to imagine something now. That's really putting a picture in my head that I think I need. Now I'm going to think that at this time in the morning, people are watching me and they're doing that. What on earth are you not watching a certain channel that's like a Mayor Khalifa thing? I'm afraid I don't know what you're watching. That's disturbing.
No.
That is very, very, very disturbing.
See, that's the Chris Vernon fan club. So you must be thinking about Chris Vernon, not you.
No. If you're watching the show, how could you think of Chris Vernon when he's not here? That's even more bizarre. Go and look at the previous videos, and then go and look at the previous videos where Chris Vernon is actually on the video. But the truth is, I'm going to brag now. No, I can't brag. I can't say. I mean, I did win the most gorgeous, most beautiful person on my show, remember?
So there's a good question for you from Massey B.
What? Which one? This one here?
Yeah.
Which sport is more famous in Australia, rugby or cricket or soccer? Can you rank the famous sports? Okay. Clearly, summer, it's cricket, followed by perhaps tennis, but cricket's definitely the summer sport of choice. In winter, the actual game of choice is rugby league, or AFL, not soccer, although soccer is getting more popular. Yeah, that's probably what it would be. Yeah, it's very seasonal. We haven't got. I mean, in India, the most popular sport is not cricket. Is it hockey?
No.
Sport.
National sport is hockey, but the most popular is hands down cricket.
So why is that not the national sport then?
See, it's been the national sport for so many decades now. I think it was way back in 50s when it was announced, if I'm not wrong. And back then, cricket was not as big in India. It only got bigger once we won the '83 World Cup.
Right. So Norman, what's this? Norman Ko meaning bateau. Morning. Is that something? Is that bad?
No, he's saying just tell Norman what it meant. I've already told him.
So Chris Vernon fan club, are you doing that certain act because I'm on air, or because I'm not sure why you're doing it. There are programs which are more suited to that than mine, I'm afraid. But that's certainly a disturbing thought. I'm beginning to have my doubts now about that. It's getting back to Chris Vernon, I'll tell you that much. He's going to find out about it.
So I think we have done enough for the day now.
Yeah, I think we've done enough. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you very much, everyone. This is Norman Koshnik. We'll speak more soon, Coach. We'll get you involved. It's time to go. It is now, what time is it in Australia? It is 6:28. Time to go. In fact, the sun's up now. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Chris Vernon Fan Club, I think. Enjoy your afternoon, evenings, mornings. We'll talk very soon again. Thank you, Coach. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.